Started. Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspatana Shranvannuti Dasadanam Shri Mahaganadipataye Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Dear friends, we are in the middle of the description of what Asthita Prajna is. Lord Krishna is explaining the characteristics of Asthita Prajna. Asthita Prajna is one whose understanding of Brahman, whose understanding of the ultimate reality is very clear. He is steadfast in that clarity. He is very, very clear about it in his mind. And his behavior is slightly different from an ordinary man's behavior. The way he reacts to things is different from how we react to things. So that is what we have been seeing. Because Arjuna asked, how does he look like? Kim asita prajeta kim stitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita prajeta kim. How does a person look like? Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. What is his description? And then how does he conduct himself? And how do people talk about him? So that is what he asked. And these characteristics are being described now. And incidentally, the same characteristics, they are also the steps to be followed by a sadhaka, a seeker who has to acquire this self-control. He has to consciously practice these things. So we are in this 59th shloka, and then in the 58th shloka, Lord Krishna explained about, he gave the example of a tortoise which withdraws its limbs into the shell. So likewise a jnani is supposed to withdraw his indriyas from the indriyarthas, from the sense objects. So that's what we saw. And then we were about to read the avatarika for the 59th shloka. So let us read this avatarika. Tatra Vishayan Anaharataha Aturasyapi Indriyani Nivartante Kurmanganiva Samhriyante Natu Tadvishayo Ragaha Sakatham Samhriyata Ityuchyate. Okay. So here he is visualizing a situation where somebody is obstinately or with very great effort, and then he is keeping his indriyas, he is keeping his sense organs away from the sense objects by force. Maybe two types. Atura, there is Shankaracharya is using a word aturaha. Tatra vishayan anaharataha aturasyapi. Aturaha has two meanings. One is a fairly sickly person who is not able to enjoy, say, normal food. He is not able to have enjoy normal things. So that is one meaning. The other meaning is somebody who is in a great tension, who is with great ambition, somebody like this Ravanasura, who wants to conquer the world, and then who does tapas in a very, very, very determined and steadfast, in a foolhardy way rather, in a very, very obstinate way. So if you see this if you read the books like Ramayana and any other Purana also, you see some of the demons doing some tapas in a very obstinate, foolhardy, in a highly determined manner. And then they do observe all the austerities which the Munis observe. They observe all the austerities which the Munis observe. But at the same time, their mind is not disciplined. Only temporarily, for the time being, they observe the austerities. But once the boons are obtained from Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva or some such Lord, then the people with all redoubled vigor, they get back to their old practices. There is a Sanskrit saying which says, Uposhitasya Vyagrasya Paranam Pashumaranam. Suppose you do some upavasam. You know what is upavasam? Upavasam you do, and then at the end of upavasa, then you have a nice sumptuous food. So if a tiger does upavasa, what does it do? Tiger, he definitely wants to hunt one deer. Uposhitasya Vyagrasya Paranam Pashumaranam. The Paranam will be Pashumaranam. It would like to hunt a deer or some other bigger animal. So that is the result of a upavasa of a tiger. So likewise, a person who is an atura, a person who is in great haste, so that person, he is likely to relapse, he is likely to get back to his old habits with all redoubled vigor. So that contingency is there, that sort of situation is there. So he is visualizing such a situation where a person, he is forcibly controlling his senses. Vishayan anaharataha. Aharanam means taking in. Hru dhatu, harati, aharati. A is a prefix. Aharati means to take in. Ahara, the word meaning ahara. Ahara means food. That which we take in, that is called ahara. Ahriyate iti ahara. That which is taken in is called ahara. So Vishayan anaharataha. Vishayan means the sense objects. Anaharataha, for one who is not taking in, that means that one who is restraining himself, or one who is abstaining. There is another word called abstinence. One who is abstaining from these sense objects. Anaharataha aturasyapi. Atura, I told you the two meanings. That is one who is a sickly person who is not able to enjoy. The other who is forcibly withdrawing with a particular object, with an ulterior object, with an ulterior motive. So Vishayan anaharataha aturasyapi indriyani nivartante. For that man also the indriyas, the sense organs, they withdraw. Kurmanganiva samhriyante. Like what was described in the earlier shloka, that is like a kurma, that is a tortoise, they will be withdrawn. they also will be withdrawn. Natu tad vishayo ragaha. But then the abiding interest, the longing or lingering interest in that, the taste for that lingers, that goes on, that longing or lingering, it goes on. That natu tad vishayaha ragaha. Tad vishayaha ragaha means, the raga means the taste, the desire for it, the longing for it. So that is not disappearing. So he has forcibly withdrawn his senses, but internally he is longing for them. So that raga has not been eradicated. Uchcheda, that is what he is going to say. Katham katham samhriyate. How does that raga gets withdrawn? How are you going to eradicate that raga? How are you going to eradicate that longing? It yuchyate. So that he is going to say Vishaya iti. Let us read the shloka. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param društva nivartate. So the meaning, overall meaning of this is Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. Dehi, the word here used is dehi. Dehi means one who has got a Adhyatma Vidya, one who feels that he is so and so, he has an identity, he has not eradicated his identity, he is a man who is very conscious of his identity, who is Deha, Atma, his status and whatnot. A person who is conscious of his status, a person who is conscious of his Deha. So, Dehinaha Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya. Somebody who is not accepting these sensual pleasures, who is forcibly abstaining himself from these sensual pleasures, Vishayaha vinivartante. These sense organs. Vishaya, the normal meaning of Vishaya is a sense object. But here, Shankaracharya is giving both the meanings. He is also using the word to mean senses themselves, indriyas themselves, and also sense objects. Vishayaha vinivartante. So the senses gets withdrawn in the case of a person who is forcibly restraining himself. But then rasa varjam, except this rasa. Rasa is a word. What is the meaning of rasa? Rasa means, actually, literal meaning of rasa means a juice, some essence of it. But in literature, this has got a specific meaning. In literature, rasa means, a taste. Or in literature, actually, it means a particular mood. For example, you see a play. You see you read some Raghuvamsha or Meghaduta or some such thing. Meghaduta, you read. There, what is the theme, the dominant theme? What is the predominant theme? And what is the impression, the overall impression that is produced by it once you read it? The dominant impression is Shringara. That is the love between the hero and the heroine. So that Shringara, Shringara actually it can't be translated as love also. Shringara means something which is associated with the love and affection. So that is Shringara. Then you read another book like something related to some war story. So that is something which is called Veera Rasa, where that valor is there. So Shringara is a rasa, Veera Rasa. Like that, we have got one book called Natya Shastra, which was written by Bharata Muni. That Bharata's Natya Shastra seems to be some 2nd century BC or something like that. That is what scholars have said. In that, he mentions 9 rasas: Shringara, Veera, Karuna, Adbhuta, Hasya, Bhayanaka, Bhivatsa, Raudra, Hasya. So like that. So there are so many rasas. And you see some movie, Charlie Chaplin's movie, what is the rasa? The dominant theme is Hasya Rasa, and that is humor. Humor is one rasa. Then similarly, valor is one rasa. Bravery is another rasa. Then Shringara, that is what you say, not love, the correct word I am not able to get. Shringara, okay, let us say for tentatively we say this love. So that is one rasa. So like that, or you see some Shakespearean tragedy. You must have heard of Shakespeare's tragedies. The tragic hero, he is endowed with so many noble qualities. But at the same time, he is also having a big flaw, a small tragic flaw. And because of this tragic flaw, all other great qualities, they get nullified, and then that man has a fall. For example, a person like Othello, he is having some great qualities. A person like Hamlet, he is having some great qualities. But then because of some tragic flaw, they fall. So that produces, when you read that story or when you see that play, that produces a sort of an impact, a sort of extreme sympathy for that man. That is called Karuna Rasa. So Karuna Rasa, for example, Bhavabhuti is famous for his Karuna Rasa. Bhavabhuti's Uttara Ramacharita, the dominant theme is Karuna Rasa. So you feel so pensive about the whole thing, you feel so sad about it, and then you sympathize with the characters. So that is Karuna Rasa. So rasa is the impact which you feel after you see a good work of art. So a good work of art is supposed to produce in us some rasa. So a dominant rasa. So here rasa refers to something like that, but not in that exact sense. But here rasa means a taste for that, a sort of liking, a longing for that. Rasa here, so in the case we are referring to a person who is forcibly withdrawing himself from the sense objects, but then the indriyas may get withdrawn, but then the rasa does not get withdrawn. The taste for it, the longing for it, that does not get withdrawn. So the rasa, the taste continues. Rasa varjam, accepting the taste. Rasa varjam means accepting the taste. Then what will happen to that rasa? When will that get withdrawn? So that will get withdrawn only when you see the param društva. That is only when you see the reality, only when you see that supreme truth, only when you have a proper understanding, only when you have a proper understanding of the supreme thing, only then the taste dies. The taste of it becomes desire. It disappears because it looks rather trivial. It will appear rather trivial. All these Vishaya pleasures, they appear trivial only when you have this Brahmajnana. So till you have Brahmajnana, you will have a longing for all these things. Once you have a Brahmajnana, then you see that all these things is a mithya. You realize that it is all trivial, and then that rasa, the so-called taste for it, it disappears, it drops off. So that is the general meaning of the shloka. Let us see the words. Vishayaha Vinivartante. Vishayaha, I told you, the Shankaracharya is giving two meanings here. Vishayaha actually normally means sense objects, but here Shankaracharya is taking the meaning of senses also. Vinivartante. Nivartante means vitra. V is a prefix. Vartante, nivartante, vinivartante. These two prefixes, V plus ni plus vartante. Vinivartante, that means they get withdrawn. Niraharasya dehinaha. For some, niraharaha. Niraharaha means one who is not taking in, is the nirahara. Niraharasya is Shashti Vibhakti of nirahara. Niraharasya, that is one who abstaining himself, one who abstains from the sensual pleasures, one who is practicing abstinence. Niraharasya Dehinaha. Dehinaha is again Shashti Vibhakti for the word Dehi. Dehi is Prathama Ekavachanam. Dehinaha is Shashti. Dehinaha means for one who is having a solid identity, one who is very strong, one who has a strong liking for his identity, one who is having that Dehabhimana, one who feels that he is so and so, he is having so and so status. So that is a Dehi. Then Rasa Varjam, that means accepting Rasa. Varjam, excluding something. Rasa Varjam, excluding the taste, excluding the longing for it. Then Rasaha Api Asya. Asya, for that person, Rasaha Api, even that Rasa. Rasaha Api means even that Rasa. Param Društva, having seen the Supreme. Društva means having seen. Param is Supreme. Param is Supreme. Param Društva Nivartate, it gets withdrawn. So you understood the overall meaning? Let us see what Shankaracharya says. Yadyapi Vishayopalakshitani Vishayashabdavachyani Indriyani Athava Vishaya Eva. Okay, so we will stop here. Yadyapi Vishaya Upalakshitani Vishayashabdavachyani Indriyani. Vishaya Upalakshitani means Vishaya, I told you, that is a sense object. Vishaya Upalakshitani, that is which are very closely associated with the sense objects. What is it that which is closely associated with sense objects? The sense. Sense only. Sense is the thing or the organ or the sense organ, that is Indriya, is something which is closely associated with the sense object. Vishaya Upalakshitani, that means which are associated, closely associated with the sense objects. What are they? Vishaya Shabda Vachyani. You can as well call it Vishaya. Vishaya Shabda Vachyani means you can as well call it. You can as well call it Vishaya. You can as well refer to it as Vishaya. What is it? Indriya. Indriya, the plural of Indriya is Indriyani. Indriyam is the singular, Indriyani is the plural. So, Indriyani are referred to here. The sense organs are referred to here because they are closely associated with the sense objects. Athava, or else you can as well say Vishaya Eva. You can as well say objects. The objects get withdrawn or the Indriyas get withdrawn. Either way, it does not matter. Either way, it does not matter. So that is what he says. Vishaya Sabda Vachyani Indriyani Athava Vishaya Eva. Niraharasya Anahriyamana Vishayasya Kashte Tapasi Sthitasya Murkhasyapi Nivartante Dehinaha Dehavataha. So Dehinaha, he says Dehavataha. Dehavan is the word, Dehavataha is the Shashti. That is one who has that Dehatma Abhimana, one who has that strong feeling of sense of identity. For such a man, Niraharasya, even when he is not accepting, even when he is not taking in all these things, Niraharasya Anahriyamana Vishayasya. So he is not accepting or he is abstaining himself from the sensual objects, sense objects rather. Anahriyamana Vishayasya Kashte Tapasi Sthitasya. In your book, what does it say? Is it Kashta Tapasi? Kashte, okay. There is another Pathantaram which says Kashta Tapasi. Kashta Tapasi is again very, very obstinate tapas. I was giving the example of Ravanasura. Ravanasura, he abstains himself temporarily so that he can get a lot of power, and then with all that power he can go and torment people. He can do all his bad deeds. He can indulge in bad deeds with great vigor. So that is Kashte Tapasisthetasya, one who is foolishly or obstinately abstaining himself. A sort of obstinate abstinence, we can say. Kashte Tapasisthetasya Murkhasyapi. Murkha means in this present context, somebody who is not an enlightened person, somebody who is not an Atmajnani. Someone who is not an Atmajnani, someone who is not interested in Brahmajnana, but still he is doing some abstinence. Why? With some other purpose. Either he is physically sick and unable to enjoy them, or he is doing with some other purpose temporarily. So for such a person, Kashte Tapasisthitasya Murkhasyapi Nivartante. Nivartante means they withdraw. these senses or sense objects, they get withdrawn, even in the case of a person who is forcibly withdrawing from them. Then, rasavarjam, raso rago, vishayeshu yaha, tam varjayitva. Tam varjayitva means accepting that. Tam varjayitva. Tam varjayitva means accepting that. What is that? Rasa varjam, accepting that rasa. Rasaha ragaha vishayeshu. Ragaha vishayeshu. Raga means desire. Rasa means ragaha vishayeshu. So Shankaracharya is further explaining this word rasa. Rasa shabdaha rage prasiddhaha. Swarasena pravruttaha. Rasikaha. Rasagnaha. Ityadi darshanat. Okay. Rasa shabdaha rage prasiddhaha. This word rasa shabdaha means this word called rasa. Rage prasiddhaha. It is prasiddhaha means well known, or it is popularly used. It is famous. It is used in the sense of raga. Raga is attachment or desire. Rasa shabdaha rage prasiddhaha. How is it? Swarasena pravruttaha. There is a usage. He is also giving some usage. How that word is used. Swarasena pravruttaha. One who is going as per his desire, as he wishes. Swachandena. Swarasena means swachanda. You know the word swachanda? Swachanda is voluntary, as you like. Swarasena pravruttaha means just functioning as he likes, as he desires. Swarasena pravruttaha. Rasikaha, one who is having an interest in certain things. There is also a word called, in English, there is a word called connoisseur. Connoisseur is somebody who is having a great taste, a good taste for various things. An eclectic taste also it is said. An eclectic taste, he is called a connoisseur. So that is the correct translation of this word rasika or rasagnya is that connoisseur or a person with an eclectic taste. Rasagnya is somebody who knows what it is. So in fact, for appreciation of a work of art, you should have that sense of rasa. If you don't have that sense of rasa, you can't appreciate you can't appreciate a work of art. So that is why the poets, in Sanskrit poetry, there is a shloka which says, I will not tell the shloka, I will tell the meaning. For any work of art, the grammarian, Vyakaranagna, is something like a father. Because Vyakarana gives all the words which are required. Vyakarana explains to you how a word has to be formed, how a word has to be constructed, how a phrase has to be constructed and whatnot. So Vyakaranagnya is like a father. A grammarian is like a father. Tarkika is somebody who keeps on dissecting things, who keeps on analyzing things. Suppose the poet says, oh, this lady's face is like a moon. So this fellow says, Rasagnya enjoys it. Rasagnya, he really, what a beautiful comparison, he says. But a Tarkika, a logician, he will say, no, how can you compare this? This face is like this and moon is having so many craters and so many things, so many ugly things. How can you compare that with this? Or either he will find fault with this and then he will say, how can you compare with that? So Tarkika, this Kavita Kanya avoids. Kavita Kanya, this dame or the damsel called Kavita, damsel called a work of art is compared to a Kanya or a damsel who is going to marry. Whom will she marry? A grammarian is a father. Tarkika is a fellow who has no interest in all these things and then he is something like an untouchable, he avoids him. Then she likes somebody who is able to appreciate the rasa. Kavyalankaragnameva Kavita Kanya Vrunite Swayam. The line says, Kavita Kanya, that damsel called Kavita, a work of art, she chooses Kavyalankaragnameva, one who knows what is a Kavya, what is an Alankara, what is a rasa. So a rasika, a person who is a connoisseur, a person who is having an eclectic taste. So only he is the husband for a Kavita Kanya. So that is how it says. So here this rasagnya means that rasikaha, rasagnyaha. So in Sanskrit poetry, not only in Sanskrit, in all literature, this is the same thing. A work of art, a literary critic may be there. A literary critic may not be a great rasika. A literary critic may be somewhat like a doctor. He is explaining every word of what the poet has used. He is trying to dissect and then he is trying to say this is not good, this is not good. He may be a rasika, he may not be a rasika. But a person who really enjoys, who steps into the shoes of the poet, who sees the things from the poet's angle, he is a rasika. So rasikaha, rasajnaha, ityadi darshanat. So such words or such usage is there. So that is what Shankaracharya is saying. Then rasikaha svecha vashavarti rasajnaha vyavachita. Okay. Sopi rasaha ranjana rupaha sukshmaha asya yatehe param paramartha tattvam brahma društva upalabhya ahameva tad iti vartamanasya nivartate. So he is explaining that sopi rasaha. Rasa is a masculine word, so it is saha rasaha. It is the word saha is used because sopi rasaha. That is, rasa is a masculine word. Sopi rasaha, saha api rasaha. Even that rasa, what is the nature of it? Ranjana rupaha. Ranjana means something which is pasted, something which is attached, something which is glued to something. So you like something and you get glued to that. You like some substance and then you like some object and then you get glued to that, or you get totally addicted to that. So let us say addiction, it is a better word. So Ranjana Rupaha, it is something which is addictive in nature. Ranjana Rupaha, Sukshmaha, it is very, very subtle and it is very addictive in nature. Then how does it disappear? Asya, Rasavarjam, Rasopi, Asya. Asya means of this person. Of this person. Who is this person? Yatehe. Of this Yati. Yati means, what is Yati? Somebody who is having that yama. The word Yati comes from the word yama. Yama is self-control. Bahyendriya nigraha yamaha. Damaha, antarindriya nigraha damaha. Something, yamo damaha. Yes, Bahyendriya nigraha. This indriya nigraha is having, the person who is having an indriya nigraha is called a Yati. Then Yati, Yatehe. Param, what is the meaning of Param? Paramartha Tattvam Brahma. Param is supreme. The meaning of the word Param is Paramartha Tattvam Brahma. Društva means having seen. Upalabhya. Upalabhya means having obtained. What is that? How are you going to obtain that Brahma? How are you going to obtain that Brahma? It is not something to be obtained. It is something which has to be understood, which has something to be realized. So what is that realization? Ahameva tat iti vartamanasya. Ahameva tat. I am that. Aham brahmasmi iti bhavana. So that bhavana. So a person who is in that brahmatma bhavana, a person who is in that understanding, in that realization. What is that realization? Ahameva tat. I am that. So that is the understanding. In that sense, vartamanasya, for such a person who is there, who is in that frame of mind, this rasaha api nivartate. Rasa means that interest, this longing, abiding interest, or longing, lingering interest in sense objects, that gets dropped off when he sees the Supreme, and when he stays in that realization that I am that. You follow this sentence? Nirbijam Vishaya Vijnanam Sampadyate ityarthaha. Nirbijam. So bija means a seed. Nirbijam means that seed gets destroyed. Nirbija, that seed either gets destroyed means even if you keep a seed in a dry condition, it is still having some life in that. So the bija becomes a nirbija only when it is burnt, only when it is fried. Only when you fry a seed, the life force in that disappears. So like that, nirbijam, bija has always the potential to sprout. It has the potential to sprout again. It may be, say, you may keep it in a gunny bag for some time, you may keep it in the sun also for some time, but still it has some life force, unless you really, fry it or heat it up. So like that. Nirbijam Vishaya Vijnanam Sampadyate ityartha. This Vishaya Vijnanam, all this interest for this Vishayas, interest for this sense objects, all those things, they become Nirbija. This is a rasa, the so-called longing or desire for that. It gets eradicated, it uchchidyate, it gets eradicated. So that is what is here. Nirbijam Vishaya Vijnanam Sampadyate. He attains. Sampadyate means he attains. Sampadyate, the word Sampadyate means attains. Next line. Na asati samyak darshane
न असति सम्यक् दर्शने
rasasya uchchedaha.
रसस्य उच्छेदः
Tasmat
तस्मात्
samyak darshanatmikayaha prajnayaha सम्यक् दर्शनात्मिकायाः प्रज्ञायाः
सम्यक् दर्शनात्मिकायाः प्रज्ञायाः
स्थैर्यं कर्तव्यम् इत्यभिप्रायः.
स्थैर्यं कर्तव्यम् इत्यभिप्रायः.
न असति सम्यक् दर्शने. सम्यक् दर्शन, we have come across this word. Samyak is correct, the proper. Darshana is vision, the proper vision, a right understanding, a right realization. That is Samyak Darshana. This word is used both in Vedanta and also in Buddhism, Samyak Darshana. So this Samyak Darshana is a proper understanding. Asati Samyak Darshane means when this Samyak Darshana is not there, Asati Samyak Darshane, Rasasya na Uchchedaha. This, if you see the sentence, Na Asati Samyak Darshane, there are two negatives, Na plus Asati. Have you seen that line?
Yeah.
Na asati samyak darshane rasasya uchchedaha. So this na has to be brought to uchchedaha, brought associated with this uchchedaha. Na uchchedaha bhavati. Asati samyak darshane rasasya na uchchedaha bhavati. This, unless you have a proper understanding, this rasasya uchchedaha. Uchcheda means eradication, uprooting. You can say uchcheda actually literally means uprooting, just plucking it out and throwing it away. Uprooting of this rasa, uprooting of this raga or attachment can happen only when you have a proper understanding. So that is the meaning of this line. So Samyak Darshana, the Samyak Darshana is the cause for uprooting of this rasa. So without Samyak Darshana, there is no question of uprooting of this rasa, uprooting of this desire. Na asati samyak darshane rasasya uchchedaha, which means asati samyak darshane rasasya na uchchedaha. The na has to be brought here. Tasmat, therefore, samyak darshanatmikayaha prajnayaha sthiryam kartavyam. So this samyak darshana or the proper understanding, it should not be something which is momentary. So you read the book and then you happy and you feel happy and then you shravana, manana and whatnot, and then you are happy temporarily. And the moment you see something, then you get attracted. So which means you have some sort of momentary or fleeting Samyak Darshana. So we are not supposed to be in that state. Our Samyak Darshana should be a proper Nishtha. Nishtha means Nitaram Avasthanam. Always be in that state. So which means you have to be contemplating on that. You should be steadfast in that. That understanding has to become so firm. It has to be rooted in you. It has to become your nature. And it has to eradicate all your previous vasanas, all your earlier predilections and all your predispositions. It has to eradicate. So, Samyak Darshanatmikayaha Prajnayaha Sthiryam Kartavyam. Sthiryam means Sthiratva. You should be firm in that. It should not be the so-called Samyak Darshana, should not be something momentary. I read Bhagavad Gita today and then for the time being I am happy. For the time being I feel I am a Brahmagyani. And the next moment I see something on TV, I get attracted to that. So it should not be like that. So Samyak Darshanatmikayaha Prajnayaha Sthiryam Kartavyam Ityabhiprayaha. We have to be firm in that Samyak Darshana. So next shloka, Avatarika. Samyak Darshana Lakshanam
Samyak Darshana Lakshanam
Prajnasthiryam Chikirshata
Prajnasthiryam Chikirshata
Adau Indriyani स्ववशे स्थापयितव्यानि यस्मात् तदनवस्थाने दोषमाह अनवस्थापने दोषमाह. Okay, what does your book say? Anavasthapane only. Isn't it? Sthapane is correct. Okay, now we are talking of controlling of the senses. So supposing that you are unable to control the senses, what will happen? What will be the fate of such a person? So that is what he is saying. Samyak darshana lakshanam prajnasthiryam chikirshata. So one who is desirous of, chikirshan is the word. Chikirsha is desire, kartum ichha. Chikirsha, chikirshata means one who is desirous of. That is the Trutiya Vibhakti. To Chikirshan, for the word Chikirshan, Chikirshata is the Trutiya Vibhakti. For the one who is desirous of what? Samyak darshana lakshanam prajna sthiryam chikirshata. He is desirous of having that stability in samyak darshana. Here the desire is a good desire. We are not talking about the bad desires. We are talking about the desire to be firm in that prajna. To be firm, to be steadfast in that proper understanding. Samyak darshana prajna sthiryam. So he is desirous of being firm in that samyak darshana. So for such a man, Adav indriyani svavase sthapaitavyani. Adav means in the beginning, first of all. Adav means first of all. Indriyani svavase sthapaitavyani. His indriyas should be totally under his control. So we have come across earlier also, indriyas, all these indriyas, they are like horses. I think in one of the first classes I told, in Vedanta, indriyas are compared to horses. So they go in all directions. These horses, they go in all directions, dragging the mind. So this mind has to be manah pragrahavan naraha. That is what Kathopanishad says. Manaha should act like the rain. You know the rain which controls the horses. Manaha pragraha. This word pragraha, we call it paggamu in Telugu. The word Telugu word paggamu is nothing but pragraha. This pragraha is that rain which controls the horses. This mind is supposed to rein in all these senses, the five senses which go out seeking sensual pleasures. So here, Adav indriyani svavashe sthapaitavyani. So these indriyas, which are like horses, they have to be brought under control. Yasmat tad anavasthapane doshamaha. So if you are unable to do that, avasthapanam is establishing like that. Anavasthapanam is unable to establish, unable to keep them under control, inability to keep them under control. So tad anavasthapane doshamaha. What will happen? What will be the calamity? What will be the bad outcome? So that is the dosham. Next shloka. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. So here he is telling about two things. Yatato hyapi kaunteya. Kaunteya is the address. Hey Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, O Arjuna. He is talking about two angles. Yatataha vipaschitaha. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha. So, hey Kaunteya, yatataha purushasya vipaschitaha. These three things, they are adjectives for the same word. Hey, for a person, yatataha vipaschitaha. He is making an effort. Yatataha. Yatan means somebody who is making an effort. Yatate, the word yatate means making an effort. Yatan is one who makes an effort. Yatataha is the Shashti Ekavachanam. Some grammar, first of all, or vibhakti we have to first of all improve. Yatataha means somebody, Shashti vibhakti for the word yatan. That is for the one who is making an effort. Then vipaschitaha, the last word here is vipaschitaha. Vipaschit is the word. Vipaschit means somebody who is having proper understanding. He is having an understanding. He has undergone this Shravana, Manana and whatnot. Only thing is, he has still not attained stability. That stability or sthiryam he has not attained. Vipaschit is the word. Vipaschitaha is Shashti Ekavachanam. So, yatataha vipaschitaha purushasya. That means for somebody who is making an effort and at the same time, say he is an intelligent man. So, he is not only an intelligent man, he is also making an effort. So, that is it. Indriyani pramathini. These indriyas, they are pramathini. Pramathini means nothing to do with the word pramada. Pramatha, mathanam. Mathana, there is a word called mathanam. Mathanam means churning. You churn the curd and then produce, say, the butter and butter out of it. So that churning. We are aware of this samudra mathanam. It is also called samudra manthanam. Manthanam and mathanam are one and the same. Samudra, the ocean, the milk ocean, is again a metaphorical. It is a Puranic story, which is basically a metaphorical story. That Samudra Manthan was done, and then from that Samudra Manthan, this Amrita has come out, the nectar has come out. The churning is nothing but Samudra Manas. Manas itself is the Samudra, where that churning, the good deeds and bad deeds, they keep on conflicting within the mind, and then because of that churning, this Amrita, this nectar or wisdom arises. So that is the Puranic story. So mathana means that which churns, which actually here pramathini, it actually churns the inside of a person. This indriyani, so the moment you see some sense object, it produces such a strike, such a longing, such a deep desire in you that it actually torments you from within. If you try to control yourself, if you try to restrain yourself, it torments you, it actually troubles you from within. So it doesn't keep quiet the desire, it actually churns you from inside. So that is the nature of these indriyas. Indriyani pramathini. Pramathini again is plural. Then what do they do? Haranti prasabham manaha. Manaha prasabham haranti. They forcibly draw away, they forcibly drag away the mind. Haranti, hara dhatu, harati, harataha, haranti. Haranti is the plural. Harati means drags. Haranti, they drag. What? They drag what? They drag away. Or rather they hijack, or rather kidnap or abduct the mind. The mind gets abducted by these indriyas. So that is the meaning here. So the overall meaning is, even for a person who is making conscious effort and who is also a vipaschit, who is also a learned man, who has also undergone this Shravana, Manana and whatnot, for such a man also, these indriyas, the sense organs, they are so powerful that they churn his mind and then forcibly drag away his mind. So he is talking about the powerful nature of the indriyas. So there is a constant battle between the mind and the indriyas. So the yati is a person who has to control his indriyas. That is the overall meaning of this thing. The words here are also very simple. Yatata, yatataha, hi api. Yatato hyapi is yatataha, hi api. Hi means yasmat. Yatataha, I told you it is the Shashti Vibhakti for the word yatan, for one who is making an effort. Yatataha hi api kaunteya purushasya. Purushasya is Shashti Ekavachanam. Vipaschitaha again is Shashti Ekavachanam for a person with a proper understanding. Indriyani, these indriyas, pramathini, haranti, prasabham, manaha. The words are quite simple. You follow the overall meaning? So let us see Shankaracharya's words. Yatataha prayatnam kurvataha api.
Yatataha prayatnam kurvataha api.
Hi yasmat.
Hi yasmat.
Kaunteya.
Kaunteya.
Purushasya vipaschitaha.
Purushasya vipaschitaha.
Medhavinaha.
Medhavinaha.
Api iti vyavahitena sambandhaha.
Api iti vyavahitena sambandhaha.
So this line, he is explaining the grammatical point of it. Yatataha hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha. So the first adjective is yatataha, one who is making an effort. Vipaschitaha api. This api, word api has to be connected to vipaschitaha. That is what he says. This vyavahitena sambandhaha means this api has to be connected to the word vipaschit, which is slightly far away. Vyavahitena means which is slightly far away. That means he is making an effort, no doubt. He is making an effort. He is also a learned man. Even in the case of a learned man, that is the tone here. The tone is, even in the case of a learned man, the indriyas are so powerful. What to talk of an ordinary man? So the overall tone is like that. Overall tone is, even for a wise man, they are able to drag him away. What to talk about? We have got several stories in all our Puranas and whatnot, of so many munis doing some tapas, and then suddenly that Devendra sends some damsel, and then these people, they get distracted. So that is what, these are all illustrations. These are all illustrations basically to show. So, yatataha prayatnam kurvataha, for somebody who is making an effort, he, yasmat, he means because, he kaunteya, purushasya vipaschitaha. Vipaschit, the meaning given by Shankaracharya is medhavi. Vipaschit means medhavi. Vipaschitaha medhavinaha. Medhavinaha is again Shashti Ekavachanam. Vipaschit, that is, medhavi is what? An intelligent person. We use the same word medhavi. Medhavi, one who is having a proper understanding. Here we are not referring to somebody who is an expert in mathematics or physics. We are referring to somebody who is well read in this Vedanta Shastra. That is, one who has a proper understanding of the Vedanta words. What is Shravanam? Vedanta Vakyanam Artha Nirdharanam. He has a proper understanding of the Vedanta sentences. He has all the theoretical understanding. Only thing is, he has to practice that self-restraint. In Vedanta, we know that there are two things which are required. One is a theoretical understanding. Number two, a practical, physical say discipline, a physical discipline where you control your indriyas, you control your desires and all your emotions, you control. So these two things have to go together. Without that, if you have only samadhi of Patanjali Yoga, there is no, it does not say give you complete result. If you only have theoretical understanding, it will not give you result. You should have a combination of both. A theoretical understanding, number two, self-discipline. Both are required. So, yatataha prayatnam kurvataha hi api yasmat kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha medhavinaha api. Medhavi, here we are referring to a person who is having a theoretical understanding. Api iti vyavahitena sambandhaha. Indriyani pramathini.
Indriyani pramathini.
Pramathana shilani.
Pramathana shilani.
Vishayabhimukham hi.
Vishayabhimukham hi.
Purusham.
Purusham.
Vikshobhayanti.
Vikshobhayanti.
Akuli kurvanti.
Akuli kurvanti.
Akuli krutyacha haranti.
Akuli krutyacha haranti.
Prasabham prasahya.
Prasabham prahasya.
Prasahya.
Prasahya.
Prakashameva pashyataha.
Prakashameva pashyataha.
Viveka vijnana yuktam.
Viveka vijnana yuktam.
Manaha.
Manaha.
Yataha tasmat.
Yataha tasmat.
Okay, he says, Indriyani pramathini. Indriyas, sense organs are pramathini, pramathana shilani. Their nature is to churn. Pramathana shilam means somebody who, that is his shilam. Shilam is character. Its very character, its very nature is to churn you from inside. The very word, even the meaning of word manmatha, I think I told you once. Manmatha, what is the meaning of manmatha? Who is Manmatha? Manmatha, you know, the god of love. The person who shoots arrows from behind the trees, and then in that Shiva Parvati story we must have seen, Shiva is doing tapas and Parvati is there serving him. Then this Manmatha is a chap who shoots these arrows, these flower arrows. His arrows are basically flowers. So these flower arrows he shoots. That means he creates a proper ambience for them to fall in love. Basically Manmatha is a person who creates a proper ambience for them to fall in love. And then he creates that desire in them. Manmatha, the meaning of Manmatha is Manaha Mathnati. He churns the mind. So once the Cupid or once Manmatha enters your mind, the mind gets churned. Mind is not stable. Mind gets churned. Mind gets disturbed. You will not get sleep. So all these Manmatha Vikara, these are all described in poetry. So all this is Manmatha, this Indriyani, they are of that nature. All these Indriyas, they are again Manmathas, the Cupid's arrows. All these Indriyas again are Cupid's arrows. And in order to please these Indriyas only, he creates a certain particular ambience. So that is the nature of this Manmatha. So Indriyani pramathini pramathana shilani. Their very character, their very nature is to churn you from inside. Vishayabhimukham hi purusham. Purusham vikshobhayanti akuli kurvanti. Purusham means a person. Vishayabhimukham vikshobhayanti. Vishaya abhimukham. They drag him towards the sense objects. Abhimukha is towards. Vishayabhimukham, towards the Vishayas, towards the sense objects. Towards the sense objects, these Indriyas, they actually drag him. Vikshobhayanti, akuli kurvanti. They actually torment him. Vikshobhayanti. They produce some kshobha. They produce some sort of, turbulence in him. Shobha actually means some sort of turbulence. They produce some turbulence in him. Vikshobhayanti, akuli kurvanti. They actually torment him. They produce some turbulence in him and then they torment him. Akuli krutyacha, and having tormented. Akuli krutya means having tormented. Haranti, they drag away. Prasabham, prasahya. Prasabham means by force. Prasabham is not, stealing. There is a question, there is a slight difference between stealing and robbery. Stealing is, suppose you keep your pen here and then somebody comes from outside and then takes away, just silently takes it away. That is taking away without your consent but without your knowledge. But then while you are walking on some lonely street, somebody comes and then gives a slap and then takes away your chain. So that is even when you are awake, they forcibly drag away. In fact, Nilakantha here he actually writes that Yataha pramathini, because these Indriyas are very dangerous and then they are of churning nature. Yatha bahavaha choraha vane ekam purusham pramathya tasya vittam haranti. Like when somebody is walking on some lonely path, Bahavaha Choraha, many thieves, they surround him and then forcibly take away his money. So that is how these Indriyas behave. That is what Nilakanta he writes here. So Prakashameva Pasyataha, Prasabham Manaha. The word here is Indriyani Pramathini Haranti Prasabham Manaha. The word Prasabham means by force. By force, Pasyataha, that is just robbery. It is not even stealing, it is just robbery. They just rob away. They take away your mind. They just physically abduct and they take away the mind. Viveka Vijnana Yuktam Manaha. And this mana, even if it is a Viveka Vijnana Yuktam, even if it is having some theoretical understanding. So we are talking about a person who is having some understanding. Not totally a person who is indulging in sensual pleasures, one who is given to some dissolute life. We are talking about a person who is having a proper understanding. Even in such a case, the Indriyas are so strong that they are capable of dragging away his mind even as he is watching. So this is the story of so many sages which we see in our stories. Okay, next line. Tani iti. Okay, next shloka let us read. Tani sarvani samyamya Yukta asita matparaha Vashe hi yasyendriyani Tasya prajna pratisthita. So he says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. So in Arjuna's question, the first question, Stitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita prajeta kim. So that is what he said. He asked, Kim asita. How does he sit? How does he behave? So how does he sit means how does he stay? How does he stay? So yukta asita. Kim asita, that word is there. Yukta asita is the answer. Yuktaha means yoga yuktaha. He has to have a proper self-control. Yoga yuktaha, we are talking about the word yoga. Yoga means, here we are referring to this Patanjali yoga also. We need not, we don't totally discard Patanjali yoga. Patanjali yoga tells about so many steps of self-discipline. So yuktaha is somebody who is having that self-discipline, who is following that self-discipline, that so-called procedure. Patanjali, it is something like a sort of SOP. Have you heard the word SOP? Usually these armed forces, they use a word called SOP, Standard Operating Procedures. So that is when so-and-so in a particular situation, you have to function like this. So-and-so, a platoon has to move like this. A platoon, you have to open fire like this. So this is a standard operating procedure. So Patanjali's Yoga Darshana, this Ashtanga Yoga, Yama Niyama Asana Pranayama Pratyahara Dhyana Dharana Samadhi. So these things, they are step by step. These are all something like an SOP, standard operating practices which are to be followed by anybody. Whether it is Patanjali Yoga Darshana or whether it is Vedanta or whether it is Buddhism or Jainism, whatever it is, whoever wants to have self-control, he has to follow those procedures. So that is the standard thing. So Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yuktaha Asita Matparaha. So Kim Asita was the question. How does he sit? Yuktaha Asita. So Yoga Yuktaha San Asita. Yoga Yuktaha San Asita means he has to sit. He has to sit. Asita is from the Sanskrit dhatu. There is one dhatu, asa dhatu. Asa, asti, staha, santi. This is asa. Asa upaveshane, to sit. That is upasana. The word upasana, you know upasana. Upasana comes from this dhatu. Asanam, seat, comes from this dhatu. Asa means upaveshane, to sit. So asate, 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 aste, asate, asate. So that is how that word declines. So that word declines like that. So asita means one has to sit. It is called vidhiling. In grammar it is called vidhiling. That is, he has to sit. One has to sit. Asita. How does he sit? How should one sit? Yukta asita. You should sit or you should stay in this yoga. You should stay in this path of self-discipline. So that is the meaning of it. Tani sarvani samyamya. Tani means those indriyas. Sarvani, all these indriyas, samyamya, samyak yamanam krutva. Sam is an upasarga, yamya, samyamya, yama, yamani yama asana pranayama, that's what. Samyamya means having control. Yuktaha asita matparaha. Matparaha. That is, thinking that I am the supreme goal. Keeping me as the supreme goal. Keeping me as the supreme goal. Me, here again, whenever Krishna says me, he is not referring to say Krishna, who is the son of Vasudeva, who is so and so, who is husband of Rukmini, who is brother-in-law of Arjuna and whatnot. We should not take from that angle. Whenever Krishna refers to himself, whenever he says aham, he is referring to the absolute Brahman. He is referring to the Paramartha Tattva. He is not referring to Krishna, that Yadukula king. He is not referring to that. He is referring to the Paramartha Tattva. Mat Paraha means this Paramartha Tattva is the supreme goal. Somebody who is having Paramartha Tattva, that is absolute reality, as his real goal. So that is Mat Paraha. Yukta Asita Mat Paraha. So he should, number one, he should have self-discipline. Number two, his supreme goal should be that Paramartha only. Supreme goal should not be anything else. So, Vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. One who has all these indriyas under his control, only that man's prajna, that man's understanding is pratisthita. Pratisthita is steadfast or stable. So, you may have a theoretical understanding, it is okay. Theoretical understanding can be very, very fleeting, momentary. It can get distracted anytime. But then he should also practice that self-discipline. So that is the meaning here. So let us see, these words are also very simple here. Tani, tat te tani. He is referring to indriyas. He is referring tani indriyani, sarvani indriyani, all the indriyas, samyamya, samyak niyamanam krutva, that is having controlled them. Yuktaha, yoga yuktaha. Matparaha means keeping me as the supreme goal. Aham param. Param is supreme. I told you several times. Param is supreme. Matparaha is keeping me as the supreme target or supreme goal. Keeping the Paramartha Tattvam as the supreme goal. Yuktaha asita. One has to stay like that. Then Vashehi yasyendriyani. Yasya indriyani vashe vartante. Vartante is one verb which we have to borrow here to complete the sentence. Yasya indriyani. Yasya means of that person, for whom indriyani vashe vartante. That means this sense organ, only 3 minutes, sense organs are under his control. Tasya prajna, that man's prajna, that man's understanding, pratisthita. We can say that understanding is steadfast, that understanding is unshakable, unswerving, we can say, unmoving or unshakable understanding he is having. So these words are like this: Tani sarvani samyamya yuktaha asita matparaha vashehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. Words are quite simple. Let us see what Shankaracharya is saying. Tani sarvani samyamya samyamanam vashikaranam krutva yuktaha samahitaha san asita. Samahita san asita. Samahitaha san asita. Tani sarvani. So tani sarvani means all these indriyas. Samyamya, samyamanam, vashikaranam. Vashikaranam is bringing them under one's control. Vashikaranam is bringing them under one's vasha. Vasham, you know what is vasha? Vasham is control. Vashikaranam krutva, bringing them under his control. Yuktaha, that is yoga yuktaha. This word yukta actually comes from the word yuju only. The same word, same dhatu from which the word yoga also comes. Here yoga yuktaha, that is having that self-discipline. Samahitaha san. Samahitaha, manas samadhanam. There is a word called samadhanam. Samadhanam, you come across that word, samadhanam, titiksha, uparati, all those things. Say this, what is that term? This 4 sadhana chatushtaya. In that sadhana chatushtaya, you come across this thing: samadhana, samadhanam, titiksha, etc. Samadhanam is one whose mind is totally composed, one whose mind is not wavering. Samahitaha, samyak ahitaha. Samyak means properly established. Samyak adhanam kurtva. Samyak adhanam is somebody who is very composed, one who is having a proper understanding. Only one mind is composed only when you have a proper understanding. If there is no proper understanding, the mind will be turbulent, mind will be wavering here and there. But here, the manas samadhanam, mind is properly composed. So I think we will continue in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.